What's up, y'all? We're here with another episode of Critical Comics. This is your host for the evening, Corey, master of all four elements, Carter.
Jonathan Crane, the master of fear.
John, version 2.
And Fred Freeze, the king of Latvia.
And we're glad that you folks can join us today. We are here with a spoilerific review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I want to say first and foremost, before anybody begins in the comments, no, this is not technically a comic book film. And I want to assure you of number two, nobody in this booth gives a fuck. Because we're all Star Wars fans, and we want to talk about a really good movie that we saw. And to say the least, this was definitely a really good film. Guys, I'm just going to go ahead and just start us off and just say, who expected it to be this good? Because I didn't. I was not expecting to come out of the film like seeing a bunch of stuff that I saw in the Star Wars universe that really made me love the franchise again. This, to me, I feel like this really washed away the taint that was the episodes 1 through 3. It'll always be there, but at the same time, this makes it easier.
Yeah, I didn't know what to think about this movie either. After this movie, after watching the preview, they changed so much from what I'm hearing. So now I'm kind of like, man, how morbid was this movie before the changes if they brightened up the film and this was the end result? Because it was enjoyable. I liked it. You know, most of us, if not all of us enjoyed it, but it was morbid. It was morbid in a good way.
To go ahead and say it again, is a spoiler. This is a spoilerific review. So let's get the big one out of the way. All those nice main characters that you see in the trailers, they all die. All of them. Every single one dies, just so you know.
In the same way, I think that a certain planet was destroyed in the previous films. But no, this is by far one of the better Star Wars films. Like you mentioned, the episodes 1, 2, 3 left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and the last Star Wars film, The Force Awakens, it wasn't bad, but it was very nostalgic in many ways. So I think this film had a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but I can't think of a better word, a lot of pressure tied to it because it was coming off of a pretty decent Force Awakens film. But it was great to kind of see where everything began when it comes to getting the plans to Obi-Wan and all this other stuff. So it's by far one of the best Star Wars films in my opinion.
And I think the big thing with me is they had courage with this film. They did something that good storytelling does, great writing does, and that is show that there are real world consequences to heroic actions.
Because that's always a pet peeve of yours. It's like no guts in storytelling has been your big thing.
Exactly, because people are trying to be so toyable and they're trying to be so translatable for various audiences. They give up the story so that they can sell product on the back end of it. And I'll just go ahead and say this, classic literature, you look at the word hero, it's usually referring to someone who's already died or someone who's, done whatever they had to do, and everybody is pretty much immortalizing them in story. So that's where we get that word from, the cult of hero. And this pretty much sums it up. And the last thing I'll say about it, I'm glad that they actually showed what a rebel force looked like, how desperate a rebel force is, how, a rebel force is pushed to the wire and they feel like, hey, back's against the wall, I've got to do something. And I understand. You could replace this with the French resistance from World War II, when your city's totally been destroyed and you guys are forming an underground resistance and you're just fighting gritty. You know what I mean? Or any other instance that goes down along that path. That is pretty much what this is.
And that's actually a really good point as far as how they made the Rebel Alliance look was actually really cool in the sense that throughout the entirety of the franchise, the Rebel Alliance seems like just the be-all, end-all good guys, especially because Luke is sort of the poster child for it. Han Solo and Chewbacca are sort of the lovable rogues. and they've always been like the do no wrong type of characters. But this film really showed how that the Rebel Alliance is not, their hands are not clean.
Yeah.
You know, their hands are not clean. In one of the opening scenes, one of the main characters who's supposed to be one of the good guys, Cassian Andor, who was trying to get information, pretty much like murders one of his own people because he knows the dude can't get away and he can't leave him behind to like give away information. So he pretty much murders one of his own guys.
Yeah, well, that seems pretty plausible because you have a lot at stake. It's a Rebel Alliance. Everything really is at stake. You have an actual Earth-destroying or planet-destroying device that has been created. So you pretty much need to do whatever is necessary.
A very flawed
at this point.
device, by the way. Very flawed kind of.
Extremely flawed.
Which actually was not unintentional, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
It's not unintentional now. Now you get to now go back and make a film and make something kind of plausible.
I'm getting to that. I actually wanted to start off, believe it or not, I wanted to start off with the cons of the film, or what we might not have liked so much, because, guys, it's a short list. That's a short list. I'd say one of my biggest gripes with this was probably the fact that the main characters didn't seem as interesting as they could have been. While I liked Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso, our main female protagonist, I feel like there was a lot of times where they could have had her show more emotion or had her be a little bit more out there, to the point where it's kind of like where crap, I'm forgetting her name. Rey from The Force Awakens was kind of like all emotion and all over the place. Jyn was very laid back, was just very sort of subdued, and I felt like they could have done a little bit more with her character on that front, on just the emotional front.
Maybe it was just her upbringing in comparison to Jyn's. Maybe I think that she had that negative outlook on things because technically she was raised by some crazy guy who snorts or whatever he was.
I think that was just oxygen. He was
inhaling oxygen.
There was no pieces
like
of him
drugs.
left, Brian. I think his lungs were gone.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're raised by a lungless rebel, you kind of have a darker outlook than Rey, who was just a positive, bright sunshine.
Yes, she was a positive, bright ray of sunshine
in
that was abandoned
in comparison
on
to watching
desert
her
planet.
In comparison to watching her mother get murdered in front of her. And
This is true.
She had the better life. Rey had the much better life, which is sad.
This is true.
And I would actually say also, I think that in this storyline, I don't know how much they wanted us to connect with the characters as much as they wanted us to connect with the overall idea of the desperation of the rebel movement. I think that it was kind of like a group think type thing. Every character had a point that we loved or that we appreciated, but you didn't get as invested. You got invested in I got invested in maybe two characters. The snark of the robot,
Right.
which that was just charming and its own snarkiness,
Right,
and
right.
It moved it along, and also you got invested in the monk because you were just wondering where that was going, with the blind samurai motif.
And that's actually where I was going with that, is that the two other characters who I felt weren't as interesting as they should have been or could have been was Diego Luna as sort of the male foil for Jyn, which was Cassian, and Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Because I feel like Forrest Whitaker was really underused in this movie, or that might have been a product of all the reshoots that they did where he maybe had a bigger part to play, because there were some parts in the original trailers that he had some speaking roles that were not there.
Yeah, the reshoots probably had a lot to do with it. I think they probably cut that 70% was him.
It
because
seems that
he
way.
died spoiler alert, he died the first 20 minutes?
I would say maybe first 30, 35 minutes of the movie. It did not take long for him to get there.
So I guess his stuff was the dark stuff.
I guess. And it makes sense because Forrest Whitaker's character Saw Gerrera is sort of the, how did they put it? He's the extremist of the rebellion.
Yes.
Is like the rebellion actually cut ties with him because they figured his methods were too extreme, that he was too much of a militant, that he didn't know how to compromise or anything like that. And they, as far as they knew, had cut ties with him completely because, hey, we may be trying to rebel and fight against the rebellion, but this guy's crazy. And it kind of showed in some of the scenes that he was in. When you randomly take somebody and as a measure of telling truth or telling lies, decide to lock them in a room with a giant squid.
Yeah.
The boar gullet.
Lock
they
them-
call it the boar gullet.
The boar gullet. The boar gullet. Boar gullet. And like I said again, I think that at the end of the day, they said, you only got so long in a film, right, to kind of do all of this stuff. And I don't know, outside of just showing him waterboard people, which kind of like the whole Borgard scene.
That's kind of what that was, yes.
Exactly. It was kind of like a moment where he didn't care if that guy lost his mind, if the pilot lost his mind.
Waterboarding with tentacles.
Exactly. And he pretty much, wanted to make sure it wasn't whatever. And like I said, that was one of the points I actually liked about this film. Because again, like I said, when we were dealing with the last movie that they came out that was supposed to be the continuation of, where we left off with Return of the Jedi with Finn and all these other characters in it, you didn't really feel like what's going on here. Like, they're not rebels anymore because the Empire is supposed to be on the other side, and the Empire was supposed to be almost in the position of the rebels where they were, not necessarily hitting from that angle, but I wanted to see more political espionage and, just you see it kind of reforming, right? And I didn't see that in the last movie. In this movie, I saw the break. I saw the break in the rebels where some of the rebels weren't quite good. They weren't perfect. Some of them were cowardly. Others were ready to go, and they were ready to go out there and join Saw Gerrera because they understand that there's only one way to stand up against something like that.
It showed that they had a vast personality.
Exactly.
It showed they had personalities of all kinds.
Exactly. Whereas the most of the, you had a good portion of rebels, they were planning on, hey, as long as I get my pound of flesh, Empire, who cares? So that's another reason why Gerrera became the enemy, because I feel like you could project that, you could see that. He wasn't just a murderer or something. He was a person that realizes, that's like the Bolsheviks and everybody else realized, there's only one way to take out certain things. You have to kill it. That's it.
Yeah, what is the name of the main villain? The guy who killed Jyn Erso's mother or had her killed in the beginning? Do you even remember his name?
Oh, no.
Okay,
I don't.
that's one of my issues.
That's it. Thank you.
Not one of the strongest villains.
Yeah.
He was middle management. I think Fred made a good point when he
He's
called
middle
him
management.
middle management. That's all he is, because he goes, he's talking. I'm pretty sure we'll get to talk about Darth Vader.
We will.
But
that is such
he's having a
that's so
conversation
fitting.
with Darth Vader, and he's acting like a middle manager.
That's so
like,
fitting.
hey,
That's so fitting.
you think you could tell like the vice president that I worked really hard and like middle
Tarkin's-
manager? What?
By the way, Tarkin, to an extent, is in this movie.
That's the store manager.
The store. Tarkin's the store manager.
Yeah.
Vader's the boss.
Oh, okay.
And the villain in between who wears the white cape is sort of middle management.
Yeah,
in the
he's
middle
just
of
the
all of
guy
this.
who's
He's the guy who's just kind of on the ground floor, kind of taking orders from the boss.
yes.
And there's a lot of points where he clashes with General Tarkin over chain of command. And you know what? That's actually a good point. He was so forgettable. I didn't include him in the list of cons.
See, there you go.
I didn't even include him in that. I forgot about him. I really did.
See
That
that?
was Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn.
The guy in white who played Daggett. Remember in Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
Yes.
He played
You
Daggett.
remember that, man?
Your little stunt at the stock exchange didn't work, my friend.
How am I? Yeah, so it was.
This
it was-
is your
same character.
this is your body without fiber.
Yes, exactly.
yes.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna say as far as the cons, to me the pacing of it at the beginning was kind of slow.
You're jumping ahead of me, yeah.
Oh,
no,
well, yeah.
that's good. That's
Okay.
good. You're right on track.
We're on cons, right? Well, cons,
Yes.
So the pacing of it, I won't get too in depth with it, but essentially it's the pacing of it. But I will say this to its credit, it does pick up, and when it does pick up, it does a really good job at it. So I think for me it's the pacing of it, but I think it kind of puts it towards the middle.
Now, the one thing also on the situation with the middle management, I think that's kind of interesting in the fact that showed a type of weakness as well.
We don't know his name. We're just going to call him middle management
Exactly.
from now on, aren't we?
He's
We're
kind
just
of
gonna
like
call
the
him
guy
middle
from,
management now.
he's the manager from Office Space.
he's lumber.
Yeah,
he's
like-
space lumber.
Exactly. He's like, we're gonna have to move you. I mean, and Darth Vader kind of saw him as that, like this guy who's just this groveling pest that's trying to move up the ladder. And Vader, these are the villains with the grand schemes. They're like, you're nothing but a useful idiot in my machine. And that's the stuff I want to see. That's the guts I want to see. I want to see all of the fallibility of it. Because when you got all of these perfect villains that are like, that are Vader-esque, then what's Vader? You know what I'm saying?
And they really treated this guy like shit throughout the whole movie because they every time it seemed like he had something successful happen, they were right back. Tarkin and Vader both were right there to point out, oh, you made this mistake. This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't screwed up. And they do that numerous times.
Yeah, it's perfect middle management. You take credit for something that they do well, and you punish them for something that goes wrong. That's how it works. They never get the rise that they're looking for.
Of course not, and he really didn't. But
they took his stapler.
And they took his stapler, the red stapler, the red space stapler, down there somewhere. Some stormtrooper has it in a basement. But really, I would say that from what John was saying, the pacing. While the pacing was slow to start in the beginning, I thought that was very necessary to get some kind of establishment going. However, I did have a problem with them just kind of constantly. They're trying to set up a slow pace, but then they started constantly jumping from planet to planet so fast in the first few minutes of it. It seemed like you can tell right away we're trying to get the sort of mini origin story out of the way so we can get to the meat of why you're really here to see this movie. And that's a bunch of rebels coming together to get the plans to destroy the Death Star. And then see the Death Star's construction and all of that. This is what you're really here for. So let's get this boring shit out of the way first. And we'll go ahead and jump into it after that. So they had to establish the characters, which was, it was a little choppy, but at the same time, I could see why they did it.
It was a little predictable, too. I could kind of predict. I didn't necessarily know that every character would die, but I think that them coming together the way that they did and facing the things that they faced, I could kind of tell each character was going to go in this direction. And, okay, she didn't have a romantic lead. Obviously, she just cared about this guy. He was. They
didn't force a love story on us.
No, which I'm very thankful. That's a pro.
Yeah,
But I could predict a lot. It was pretty easy for me to predict that, okay, they stood with the alliance, with most of the main alliance members. They didn't get help. They didn't get support. They had to go out and do it themselves. Had they gotten any support at all, my gosh, they may have been able to destroy the Death Star
and
without
survive.
Luke. Yeah. I mean, look at everything. I mean, early, of course, they came in and they helped them later.
Yeah.
But, if they had any more ground troops, who knows what would have happened.
And I have to say on that note, leading into the pros, because that's all the cons I had as far as that one. Like I said, folks, it was a short list. But I'll say, going back to the characters, while the three main cast members of that one did not impress me all that much, the side characters were some of the most interesting for having so little of an origin story. Like, for instance, I'll just go right into it. Donnie Yen and Wing Zhang as Chirrut Umway and Baze Malbus as sort of the two guardians of the Kyber Crystal Temple. And these guys come on. I saw the trailer that they released overseas in Asia. And those guys might as well have been the main characters. That trailer was tailored so much to just show them. And that was it. And you know what? I got no problem with that. As I've said before, it was, man, I was excited. I'm always excited to see Donnie Yen do his thing in movies. But to see him do his thing against stormtroopers, that was like nerdgasmic. It was truly nerdgasmic at that point.
Yeah. And like I said, the traditional blind samurai motif, the tie-in to the Force, the fact that you saw, their bond even to the end and how they kind of just followed along, that, all Star Wars films always have this wise master somewhere. Yoda, of course, being the supreme wise master that pops up out of nowhere. And he is kind of like a precursor to that wise master continually showing up and, showing somebody the way or giving you somewhat of a guide. Or saying, is that really what you want to do? And that's kind of like what he does throughout the film. And then, of course, he follows it up with several levels of badassery.
Of course.
And
blind shooting and everything. So,
exactly. Yeah. So, I'm like, that was great. And like I said, even the way that they, went out heroically and everything, all of that was great. So that's
And you're automatically just know right now you're going to see a bunch of Star Wars memorabilia with "I am one with the Force is with me" over and over.
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. Yeah,
and he was praying quite a lot. So there's like he's the
that
sort of blind
cool,
priest.
That was a cool scene though.
It wasn't
really overdone.
It was when Chirrut goes out, basically the heroic sacrifice, and he pulls what I like to call a Wyatt Earp, where he basically walks out into a field of blaster fire.
No.
No. Tombstone. If you haven't seen it, you're living under a rock. Anyway.
Down the Thunderer, now you got it.
You pimps! Goddamn pimps! But
I see a red sash. I shoot the man wearing it.
and hell's coming with me. Sorry, we're going off into a tangent here, but he has that whole heroic sacrifice thing going on. Probably one of the coolest heroic sacrifices in the movie, and there are many. I'd say his partner Baze Malbus, who basically has like a friggin' Gatling gun of a blaster on his back, is pretty much there to bring down the firepower.
Yeah, it gives the Chewie crossbow a run for its money. It actually does. I mean,
It really does, actually.
maybe it was his skill more than that, but of course the Chewie crossbow is more powerful. But man, that was
When he
mowed
spits
them
fire,
down.
he spits out a lot. He mows down quite a few stormtroopers in this movie.
I hate to circle back to a con, but I'm just going to mention this really quick. The stormtroopers sucked. Okay, move forward.
What does
More
that?
than usual.
Yes. What does that armor protect against? Like you
Nothing.
can walk up. Look, man. If
Nothing.
you've
It
ever
protects
played
nothing.
football, in a football fight, we always say keep your helmet on and all that other stuff. Because if an idiot tries to hit you in the helmet, they're just gonna hurt their hand. So that's what you do. Like you're worried that somebody's gonna take their helmet off and use it as a weapon and bang the side of your helmet. But
man.
these guys, they're just hitting somebody on the head up with their helmet,
If
and they're falling out like, oh.
Guys, if it's possible, the stormtroopers have actually degraded in this movie
Yes,
from
this was-
previous incarnations. They have actually degraded so bad.
Yeah,
It
switch
seems like-
switch back to the clones, please.
Oh man, it seems like the stormtroopers have just gotten so much worse. They are just cannon fodder throughout the entirety of this film. They're cannon fodder. They're made to be they're things that are made to be shot at. There's one point that I had to laugh at, and I keep laughing at over and over again, where Jyn is like sneaking up on a platform. It's raining. And I don't even know how to explain this. She's seen by a stormtrooper as she climbs off off the bottom of a ladder. The guy sees her. She basically like just jerks him off the side of the cliff without any effort whatsoever, and he just falls to his death.
They're very inefficient. Like, it's so sad because they were kicking so much ass in The Force Awakens.
They were.
Like,
Well,
they were,
technically, those were not Empire troops. Those were First Order troops.
All right, fine. Minor details. They're in white suits and they were kicking ass. And now you got these guys in
actually
Rogue
hitting
One.
things.
My question
burning
is-
people.
That is like 40 years later.
They burned people.
But here's
Slow
my
torture.
problem with all of this. Like I tell people, help me suspend my belief. And I suspend my belief when I go into all fantasy stuff for the most part. But when you do little things that you don't help me, like when you're wearing a damn helmet and you're wearing armor, that the whole idea, I'm guessing, for this armor is more than just filter out stuff in the air. I'm thinking that it's got to be somewhat deterrent to blasters. And here's another thing. People are getting blasted and you don't even see fucking marks on the armor. Excuse me. You don't see marks on the armor. I'll let him edit that out.
Batman armor versus Superman.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
I got that
Yeah,
before you
exactly.
did.
Yes.
Surprise.
Yes, I'm like, no marks on the armor. You got like guys are getting blasted. People are just getting punched. I'm like, you getting punched in armor.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
like, man, what is going on? Like you doing the chop the chop across the neck, like James Bond. What's that judo?
A
chop?
blind man beat them with a stick.
a stick,
A blind man
sir.
beat them with not a special space
While
stick.
they were wearing armor.
Not a special space stick, not a stick with any kind of implements or
stick.
anything on it.
A space
No,
stick.
no electrified implements or anything whatsoever. It was a stick. It was a walking stick. It was a really sturdy walking stick.
It was a gas-powered stick that never ran out of gas.
And it was powered by the Force, yes.
A force-powered gas stick.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes, exactly. So
That's
apparently,
how I'm pretty sure some Star Wars apologists will come out and say that.
Actually,
well, he was using
that was-
technically it was a force imbued object.
Yeah, that wood was actually
And with the crystals.
Corey and I have played a lot of Star Wars games in our youth. We played Lego Star Wars, which is a good game, even though you won't play it. We played, quite a few games.
All the way back to Jedi power battles on the PlayStation.
Dark Forces,
Yes, that was your game.
which is a shooter game that I
It
couldn't
was- it
master.
exi- it existed.
It was a better game than I gave it credit for. I was bad at the game, so I criticized it. But actually looking back, it was a solid game. But saying all of that, if you really played these games, the Stormtroopers are actually pretty formidable.
Yeah.
They're formidable. There are some high-level elite Empire guards that you have to face. But in the movies, you rarely get to see them. And that really frustrates me because you consistently see that. You consistently see these guys just get pulled off of a platform and fall to their death. And you're just saying to yourself, what in the hell? Where is the guy that I fought against that gave me like hell?
Where are the troops that actually like earn their rank as troopers? This is a military fighting force, is it not? You would think that these guys would be better trained, but that being said, the Death Troopers were, when they finally pulled out the extra trooper, the Death Troopers, the ones in black, all black.
They were just efficient.
They were just efficient. They were exactly what the Stormtroopers should have been.
Yes.
They were hitting
They
targets.
didn't miss as often.
They were hitting targets. They were marching in unison. They were acting like a troop of military trained people would.
They look pretty cool.
There's clearly a hierarchy with these people. Like clearly these the white stormtroopers are just bottom of the barrel because they suck so bad. And then you got the Death Troopers and the First Order Troopers from the Force Awakens.
But once again, Brandon did make a great point. That is like a 30-year gap between the Rogue One and the 30-year gap between Rogue One and the Force Awakens, man.
I want a super Star Wars nerd to break down to me what the hell that armor is. I just need to know. I mean, I understand.
Please break it down.
Someone's going to have to give us a synopsis on this. They really are.
I need you to. I know it filters out
It's
the
not
air.
good for anything. It's
I know.
not.
That's what I'm saying. I know it filters out the air. I know it. Does all this other shit. But I mean, the thing is, what is the protective element? And whatever they're blasting,
It does not protect against that at all.
That's what I say. And then the fact that you're punching it, and you're just a human being.
You can beat these guys with hand-to-hand combat.
Yes. Hitting them with stick. And here's another thing. You never see, not that you got to key in on somebody writhing as they die or something, but I'm just like, my goodness, no helmet gets blown off. That's what they're death or they pass out instantly. So it's almost like,
there's no Saving Private Ryan moments.
Exactly. It's like the A-Team or something like that. You remember when they just hit somebody across the back of the neck
and they're just
they're like,
unconscious?
Yeah. In Force Awakens, there was a more human side to the Stormtroopers because remember,
with Finn,
with Finn, the Finn kind of like there was a Stormtrooper reaching out for him.
Yeah.
And he kind of touched his. Of course,
covered him in blood, right?
Yeah, they covered him in blood, so you could tell it was him. That's why they really did it. But if we saw more of that, it would be pretty impressive. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we have to understand the color system. Okay, you raised an interesting point. Back to games again.
Right.
We all know that Ninja Turtles. You got the
you're
purple.
Gonna go to the Foot Clan color code, man.
Yeah, the purple. The purple's the lowest, right?
Yes.
Then you got the silver. Then you got the gold.
Yes.
So where?
Too, right? When
There were red ones.
Yeah, there were red ones. They all did
threw
different
ninja
things.
stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you knew, okay, this is when you get to Shredder's when you get to Shredder's domain, okay, you're gonna face a certain type of Foot Clan soldier. Let's see the last group.
Let's just see the last.
If black is the second group, let's see the last group, man.
Let's see teal.
Yes, turquoise.
Let's see turquoise.
I need to
let's
see
the turquoise stormtrooper.
And there are only like 5 of them.
But they're that good.
Right,
That's the thing.
right.
They're actually really good.
To Fred's point, like with the armor that they're wearing, I wonder if they reuse them in like a cost measure. Like there's no
They
markings
probably
on them.
do.
Yeah.
They're not damaged, so
That's
why
why I
not just
said.
scoop up all the dead troops, take the armor,
That's
and
it.
reuse them for the new troops?
Yeah, because I'm
Size
like,
may vary, but I mean,
it's that's my thing. That
The
whole
funny
armor thing
thing,
is killing me.
the funny thing is that in Star Wars Rebels, Disney's Star Wars Rebels, which is a highly rated show that I would recommend to anybody,
Yes,
that it
it's
takes
awesome.
place like 5 years before Rogue One, and it's sort of the very beginning stages of the Rebel Alliance. There is a point where some of the main characters, with one of the former like retired clone troopers, actually has to infiltrate a Star Destroyer, and they capture 2 stormtroopers and take their armor. And there's one point where they get shot, and it's like by a stun by one of their own people, and he's like got a blaster that's set on stun. And they get up and one of them like actually takes the helmet off and throws it on the ground and said, "This armor doesn't protect anything." And the clone trooper just looks at him and goes, "I told you." And I think it's kind of a running gag with them at this point. Like it's a running gag with the company. They know this at this point. That it's like useless.
Okay, and well, I guess the last question I have about this, since you said blaster set on sun, which that goes down to a level of Star Trek.
Well, I will say this. That actually was established all the way back in A New Hope.
Okay.
Like, remember when they captured the Princess Leia and they fired at her? They had a stun setting on the blaster, so they do have a stun setting.
So I wonder, but you're going into battle. Why would you be stunning all these guys?
Exactly.
And why would I give up?
You're letting your logic just, you can't do that, man. You can't be logical about this fighting force. Like I mean, why don't they improve their armor somewhat? Just look, the US military improves their armor consistently. They at least say, okay, we need to change the pattern of camouflage like every once in a while.
Apparently, folks, I was wrong about the list of cons. This one's going to go on a while from the sound of it.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, these are nitpicks. This is just fun little nitpicks, but that's a downer. That's a downer that they didn't have any sort of. Gosh, they didn't improve at all.
They really did. Again,
we gave them so much credit in Force Awakens.
Yes.
Again, I'm saying that we gave them a lot of credit in The Force Awakens, but guys, this is the past. This is the past that we're looking at. This is 30 years before The Force Awakens. Those are different troopers. This is after they've been defeated. Now, I will say that there is a little bit of bias on my part because I've actually been researching the difference between the Empire and the First Order. The First Order is basically the Empire after it's been defeated, sent into dark space and unknown worlds, and forced to sort of say, we screwed up. Time to come back stronger than ever. And it's been like confirmed that the First Order troops are way better trained, have way better armor. Dude, you saw that fucking stun baton that could deflect the lightsaber that Finn fought off. They never had those before.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I mean, you're going against Finn. You're going against a guy who's never held a lightsaber. So against any solid Jedi, he'd still be dispatched quickly.
But at the same time, dude, it's a weapon that can deflect a lightsaber. That is not something any stormtrooper has ever had before. Yeah. So again, it's a whole different force with the First Order, as far as I know. With Rogue One, with that crew, this is the Empire that has successfully dominated the galaxy, that has had small uprisings and squashed them instantly. To me, I'm thinking you've got, the way we joked about it on the outside, you've got a lot of troops who are just there for a job. You got a lot of guys who are just there for a cushy job with the Empire. It's like, you know what, man, I'm going to get here. I'm going to go to the Empire. I'm going to like invest in some credits in space college. And after I'm done with that, man, after I've done my tour of duty.
So who is the Army recruiter? who is the Empire recruiter?
I'm gonna let you say that. But the one thing that I would have to say about that is I think what we're going into is why is it that I guess what we're saying is it's kind of like, say if China or somebody like that is doing something, they got so many soldiers that they just overwhelm you with forces. They don't care about what happens to these bumbling forces.
And that's what I think
they just basically want to just send the bumbling forces out to, if they kill a few of you. Yeah, exactly. And then here comes the AT-ATs and the death troopers and the real guys, and they're coming to take you out. You know what I'm saying? And then they're going to set up ground, and then they're just going to keep hitting you with wave after wave. But the first wave is just the bumbling guys that they took off the street. Now, I will let the joking continue about the who's the recruit.
We had to get serious for a moment there.
No, man, I'm just joking around. We all remember high school. We had to deal with Army recruiters, Marine recruiters, these people who show up in their flashy cars, wearing rings, promising a lifestyle that you knew wasn't real unless you were just some crazy person who believed in it. Do they have that for the Empire? Do they have some guy who's showing up like, you see this lightsaber? You'll get to use one of these one day. It's red. Yes.
I mean, it's all fun and good until you realize you'll be drug into an intergalactic war between rebels in space somewhere.
No, dude. No. You won't even have to deal with that.
I heard about that like in a pamphlet.
You only have to serve like 1 weekend out of the
year. It's 1 weekend out of the year. You'll be there to oversee the rebuilding of the Death Star.
I looked it up on Space Google. Apparently, you do get murdered by a guy with one arm who got it cut off. He has a lightsaber. His name is Luke.
Dude, you're totally gonna be in a completely different galaxy.
Different Death
But
Star.
there are so many different places that we can send you. It could be like a tropical planet filled with blue girls. You like blue women, right? I like blue girls.
Will there be Wookiees?
There'll be so many Wookiee girls. You like hairy Wookiee girls? Nothing wrong with that at all. She'll be there. Just sign here.
Anyway,
He did it for the Wookie Nookie.
looking like I tossed the salad of a Wookiee. Anyway, getting back on track with some of the side characters that we mentioned. Alan Tudyk of famous Firefly fame, playing our favorite droid, K2SO. I heard somebody basically describe K2SO as C3PO, but without the without the pussified behavior. Basically, C3PO if he was like a complete badass who could carry around blasters and had no chill and gave no fucks whatsoever.
Smack motherfuckers around. Like children, like redheads.
He backhanded him, man. He
that
backhanded the guy. He backhanded Cassian. There was a point where he's pretending that he's carrying prisoners. And one of them tries to speak, and he instantly backhands the crap out of his commander. Don't make me give you a fresh one. So Alan Tudyk as K2SO was easily one of the best parts of the film. I loved every moment of that droid being on screen.
I felt bad when he died.
It was tragic. It was really tragic when he died.
Everybody dies.
Everybody, we said it before, guys. Everybody dies. He has a heroic death. Hell, just about everyone has a heroic death. And he's that droid who I really wish did not go away. Like, I wish we could see more of him later on. I hope there's more droids with more personality. But getting into the other pros about this, I really have to say, I think this is probably some of the best action sequences in Star Wars that we've seen since maybe Return of the space battle, the last space battle in Return of the Jedi, and that was really it. This is like literally
in terms of the space battles, we all know what the best lightsaber fight is, but in terms of space battles, it's up there.
And quite frankly, it was like just looking at all of this. It was some people would say, "Oh, the space battles were pretty good in the episodes 1, 2, and 3." Not really. They were just hectic. There was just a lot going on, and you could see that there was a giant war, and there was a lot going on.
I don't really recall one that I really loved in episode 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Not that I loved. I thought they were solid, but yeah, you're right about them just being. So there's so much going on.
But to your point about episode 1, 2, and 3, you do remember that one battle scene. It wasn't a battle as far as in space, but the duel between the two Jedis and Darth Maul. You remember that one battle scene? Right.
Are you talking about hand-to-hand combat?
Yes,
or are you talking about?
yes.
No, I'm talking about space battles.
I know, but
oh yes, I
to
remember.
your point about because
That was amazing. That is the best that is the best lightsaber fight I've seen in Star
right,
Wars.
and
Sadly, in the worst movie of the franchise.
exactly, and I make that point.
Episode 2. I challenge you. Please
That
watch
is
episode
a different
2.
episode. We will argue on that one another time.
There you go. No, I bring it up because going along with kind of the pros of the film. One thing I noticed with this film, along with the others, and I don't want to make it into a comparison between this film and The Force Awakens, but I can't help it. But overall, the entire films, there are different kinds of motifs in each film. For example, so in the past films, you have C-3PO, you have Chewbacca, you have Han Solo, all these guys. You have the equivalents of these same characters in each and every film in a way. So, for example, in this movie, Rogue One, who was C-3PO now? K2SO.
K2SO, yeah.
Right, that's the equivalent. Who is essentially Chewbacca in this film?
That would have been Baze, the guy with the giant Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Exactly. And along with that, you also have scenes, just epic scenes, whether it's a lightsaber battle in one of the episodes 1, 2, and 3, or if it's a huge trench, the trench scene in the past films, and in this movie with this large battle scene in this particular film as well. There's always something that is interconnected with all the other films. Now, with Force Awakens, I think we can all agree, it was great, but it was very familiar as far as some of the things that they did.
It was a little too familiar.
A little too familiar.
A New Hope 1.5.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is what makes this film so much better, is because it still has its hallmarks of all the other films, but at the same time, it becomes its own kind of film in a special way, which is pretty cool.
I agree.
I definitely agree. And I think that was the great thing about it, is that it did such a great job of establishing that it's its own it's its own singular story, that it is connected to the rest of the franchise, but it literally is just the story of what happened to these characters and what this little important tidbit about all of the first movie came down to. And speaking of the space battle, I have to say probably something that I've never seen in any Star Wars film is one ship pushing another ship into another ship and crashing it into a giant fucking shield generator. I will be proud to serve on the ship known as the Hammerhead Corvette. I will tell you that right now, forevermore.
It was the first time I've seen Star Wars do that, so that was pretty nice to see.
It literally was a ship that after they disabled, they were basically, it was the Rebel fleet fighting against the couple of Death Stars and of course a shit ton of TIE fighters, and apparently they disabled one of the Star Destroyers. They disabled one of the Star Destroyers, and the ship they called the Hammerhead Corvette. And the first time I saw this movie, I had to wonder, did I hear that correct? The Hammerhead Corvette is what the ship is called. It literally crashes into one Star Destroyer, pushes it into another one, and it damn near slices the second Star Destroyer in half just before it collides with the shield generator.
Ramming speed.
And that was one of the most beautiful scenes. I felt like there should have been classical music playing over that because it's in slow motion, it's in space, and it's one of the most beautiful scenes of utter destruction that you can imagine. It really is one of the best scenes in the whole movie to me. And it's like just uber memorable. It was definitely one of the better scenes out there, I thought. But going back to that, I also love the fact that the ground battles were just as intense. In fact, maybe more so, because we mentioned before how there's no Saving Private Ryan moments, and I kind of have to take that back because it never fails to sort of impress upon the audience that this is a small force taking on a much larger force, especially when the fucking walkers come in.
Yeah, there are no Saving Private Ryan moments with the troopers, but with the main cast, man, there are tons of them. You feel for them because they are dying, except for that one dude who poked his head out who's like, I'm gonna go. Yeah. And I was like, what the?
I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, he died instantly. He died like Family Guy. Like it was at that. I know I wasn't supposed to laugh, but his death was so quick and sharp. It was hilarious.
It was kind of like the motif they always use for brothers in horror movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, it had to be the black guy. It was the black guy too. Yes, it was the black guy.
So it's like it was
the black rebellious trooper who decided he was going to try to be brave and then got shot down immediately for it. I'm going to go for it.
Oh, they shooting out here.
They're shooting,
and then they don't stun.
Oh, they're shooting out here. They're not using stun. They're not using stun.
They use stun for everyone else except for him. What is that all about?
Oh gosh, that was awful. Oh man, but the ground battles were actually really good. And it didn't seem implausible. It seemed like they were using guerrilla tactics. It seemed like it was very well thought out that they caused a giant distraction. And the whole thing is just to cause a giant distraction so Jyn, Cassian, and K2 can get inside, get the plans, and try to get them back to the fleet is the whole point of the whole thing. It's just a giant distraction. And it proves to distract quite a bit because they bring out the whole nine on these guys. They bring out walkers, they bring out fighters. Guys, there's no way to say it. The rebellion on the ground kind of gets slaughtered. And, they put up a great fight, heroic sacrifices all around, but there's never a point where you think, oh man, they're going to completely overwhelm the Empire. No, they are facing a much bigger force. And I have to say, this brings me to probably one of the I've been waiting to get to this, the biggest pro of the movie, Darth fucking Vader.
Oh.
I have to say this, along with doing a lot of things that this movie did for the franchise, the biggest one being it made Darth Vader intimidating again. It made Darth Vader scary again. A character who has kind of dropped so many levels of badass since he first premiered, 30-something years ago, and it actually reminded you, hey, this is why this is the baddest Sith Lord in the galaxy besides the Emperor. And it was really, from every scene he was in, was riveting with Darth Vader.
Yes, young Luke, I knew your father. We were great friends. I let him burn down by the lava pit. I left him to die.
But yeah.
This is your father's lightsaber. He wanted you to have it when you were old enough. I hate you. Give my son my lightsaber when he's old enough.
He told me. He told me. Oh my.
Yeah, but yeah, that was bliss. That was absolute bliss. Watching him destroy those poor Alliance.
There was there
soldiers.
was a scene where guys, I have no other way to say it. There is literally a scene where it's like a minute and a half long of Darth Vader just destroying
like
rebel
lambs
soldiers.
to the slaughter.
Like fucking, they are trapped in a place with him. They have no
They're
place to go.
trapped in a small confined area with Darth
With a guy
Vader.
with a lightsaber, yes. But not
Without
any
the
guy-
lightsaber,
Yeah,
but
that's
with
true.
the lightsaber, you're like, it's hell. So these people truly, I really appreciated them after that because I'm like, these guys know they're going to give their life. Please, real quick, find a better way to transfer information as well. It's the future. Holy, yeah, go
That
ahead.
did take a
please.
long time to just.
No.
That whole thing was a giant scene of them just transmitting the info.
I'm going to give you this. This is one of the big cons, and a gentleman that I recently met, he brought it up, and me being in IT, it's a thing. This is another thing that hurts my suspension of belief. I know we save things on magnetic tape now. We do data backups, but the fact that they have a huge tape vault that has to have a robotic arm,
Like an
on
arm
the
from
tower
the
and
from the
get it.
game, from the arm game that you have to grab a stuffed animal with.
that always cheats, and basically exactly. So you got to do all of that to get it. Then you get the magnetic tape. You're trying to get away with the magnetic tape, and Darth Vader shows up. None of this would be a problem if it was like a simple, data transfer to a memory stick. You can't tell me we're up to terabytes of information now, bro. True. You can't tell me that
Hey man,
400 years from now.
maybe in a
400
galaxy
years
a
from
long
now.
time ago, far, far away, they don't have hard drives like that. They don't have portable
So
terabyte
we
drives. Maybe
went
they don't.
look.
Yet they've mastered like intergalactic space travel, but they don't have like a terabyte hard drive that they could just that could have saved so many Alliance soldiers.
They made a massive planet-destroying machine,
Well, yes,
and everything is still on tape.
yes. What is that?
You know what? They spent all of
Awfully 80s of them.
They spent a lot of time. They spent a lot of time perfecting faster than light travel. Okay, we didn't have time to work on the space internet. All right, we had to perfect our ships. We had a planet destroying ship to build.
They have space. They've mastered space travel, and they still have dial-up.
Exactly.
It's just kind of like I wish that they would upgrade that just a little bit from the 80s.
They just kind of have to upgrade their holograms. Like, the holograms are skipping. The holograms are skipping. They're not coming in full tilt. It's like, damn this DSL.
It's not 4K or HD.
Yeah.
It's just like it's still standard definition.
It's a choppy hologram.
It's
a choppy
space.
hologram.
Now,
It's in a different space.
I will even give them that maybe, just maybe, it's not tape. Maybe it is just a bunch of big data storage, like little.
Because they did
whatever.
remark about the size was the problem with with how much data was there.
Now, but the problem is with even that, if it's a large hard drive, I'm just like, dude, okay, you're telling me that you guys have this multiple hard drives in this bay of hard drives.
Right.
Yeah.
That I just can't do any of this anymore. You know what I'm saying? So now the IT guy takes over, and then I'm just like, I get it. I'll take it. I'll take it. But my big thing is, I'm like, crazy stuff that they were doing, like when she got on the tower and you gotta flip one button over here and another man's got. I get
It's movie physics. It's movie physics.
But I get the security side of it because it's kind of
Right.
like you got two guys got to be there with the key because this is important and all this other crap. So we just don't want anybody doing it.
Walkways.
Yeah,
There's always a long walkway.
Walkways.
It was in
Yep.
Force Awakens. It's like, man, stop creating these long dangerous walkways. Like, what is?
It's like, man, I'm telling you,
At least this one had rails.
Stewie had it right on the Family Guy. They've got the worst.
They got the worst contractor ever.
Exactly. You're
got
not
the
getting
worst
paid.
personal contract?
You're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. This is behind schedule.
Oh man, and I will say that with Darth Vader was great from start to finish. Every scene that he was in, the movie itself solved a 30-year-old plot hole, which I mentioned before, where Mads Mikkelsen's character, who plays Jen's father, Galen Erso, basically said, very early in the movie that he intentionally designed a flaw because he was forced to build this thing, by threat of his family dying, and he purposefully designed a flaw that resulted in the destruction of the entire Death Star. So there was that. Brayden, you have a question?
So you mean to tell me that there's nobody who looks over his? I mean,
I was gonna point that shit out.
yeah. Okay.
Nobody says, "Hey, wait a minute, something's not right."
Why is this thermal? What was it? A
Thermal exhaust port. Yes.
Yeah, thermal exhaust port is just, you know, if someone were to fire down this thermal exhaust port, then we could all go kablooey. Now, no one, I mean, for example, just real quick, when you build a Whole Foods, there are health risks. There are certain things, walkways. They analyze the way that it's built. They say, hey, you know what, man, this doesn't seem very safe. We're going to have to pull this back. We're going to have to reschedule, okay? Yeah. And nobody, he worked with a team of scientists, and nobody was like, hey, man, I'm talking about for the Empire, the Empire side of things.
Well, I mean, and that would kind of act as a precaution, because if you're dealing with individuals who has tendencies to side with the Rebel Alliance, you will want to have someone overcheck the plans. And on top of that, what about the people who are working on it? How skilled are these individuals who don't point out and say, hey, man, I'm not the smartest guy in space, but there's a flaw here. Like,
well, but they work with him. I understood that because they kind of work with him. The team,
fine, sure.
Like, I don't know if they really knew, but they had to be kind of aware that we're building a death machine.
Yes.
I don't like the fact that I'm building a death. It's like Werner von Braun didn't really want to build. He really didn't want to build chemical weapons and nuclear weapons for the Germans.
Right.
He wanted to go to space. He's like, I don't want to build death weapons. So we brought him in to build death weapons for us. But then he got to go to space. Then he got to go to space. But with this guy, he's like working for the Empire in a similar situation where he's just like, okay, I will build your Death Star.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes. And they built it again.
Yes.
They did it with the same.
I don't even want to go with that. I can't even
go into that.
Good luck with that. You're the expert.
You know what I will say about the second Death Star? About the second Death Star that had a similar. It had the same flaw. Okay, it had the same flaw. Look, it's the same flaw, but only bigger. However, at the same time, everybody who knew about this is dead. That's the thing, as I'm saying, is that everybody who knew that he purposefully built the flaw is dead. Everybody who was on the Death Star, they're dead. They still don't know how the hell they managed to blow the damn thing up. That's where my reasoning comes in. That's what I'm saying. It's like they knew he built the flaw, and they kind of took his plans and enlarged them with the second Death Star. But anybody who actually knew what he'd done is friggin' dead or on the Rebel Alliance side.
Which, again, is still the fact that they're building another Death Star. That's just
the problem. The problem I'd say is that it wasn't that it happened a second time. It was that it happened a third.
Yes.
Starkiller Base. It happened a third time, which is kind of like, that's where my problem comes in.
Starkiller Base was a little harder to destroy.
Yes, it was bigger.
Yeah. See, I'm just like, what? Yeah. Does this ever work?
Love Vader.
Love Vader. You said you needed to see a lightsaber at least once.
Yeah, one time. Just need to see one lightsaber. So, I got to see that. I was impressed by it. I knew that Vader would make an appearance, but I didn't know how long he would be in it.
We thought it would be a set piece. That's it. We kind of thought it would be a set piece and just he'd be there spouting lines and he'd be just a presence. We didn't know they'd actually have him.
He was a presence, all right.
Oh my God.
He was an absolute presence.
And the voice was
James Earl Jones. Yes.
It was James Earl Jones, which I'm very thankful they could get that done before something negative happens. Yeah. 2016. But a lot of people I don't know if you're going to mention this. Are you about to mention the two characters that they kind of brought back to life with computer animation?
Well, I'm gonna mention it before, but you can go into it again. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was just gonna ask what you thought about that.
Oh, with the two CGI face characters?
Yeah, the two. Yeah, because.
Okay, General Tarkin, the actor who played Tarkin in the original series, died a while ago, but they brought him back as a sort of CGI faced character. Carrie Fisher was also brought back in her younger phase as Princess Leia at the end of the film and makes an appearance. I thought they both looked well, and I thought Tarkin was actually pretty good. He was way better than Jeff Bridges from Tron Legacy when they tried to do with that. He was way better than that. However, they have this problem when they do that, where they try a little too hard to make it seem human. They try to add in a little too many facial tics, and movements, and it takes you right out of it. And the thing is that they seem like they didn't really study the original actor enough, because he did not emote a whole lot with his facial features. He was very menacing in how silent and cold and stoic he was, of how General Tarkin was. And with the CGI in this movie, it seemed like they tried a little too hard to give him to try to make him seem human, which of course made him seem less human and kind of brought you back to the idea like, oh, this is CGI. I can see it now. You know, you can believe it when you first see it, but as soon as it starts to wear on you, the more they have it on screen.
Yeah, you know, and that particular kind of CGI, it worked well in the Marvel films. You remember in Ant-Man with Michael Douglas's character, and also with Tony Stark's in the last Avengers film, because they did the same thing as far as making him younger. Do you remember that? Like,
I do.
But these are for scenes, and the thing that I read an article about this. They said that it worked so well and it tested so well, they went further with it. He was just supposed to be kind of like in the background, menacing. He was supposed to be viewed from afar, type of thing. And then they were like, okay, well let's take a little bit further. We like the way that this looks.
Yeah,
that's why he was inserted in so many scenes, and it's like he's technically in it now.
And it would have been a lot
this
better.
Orville Redenbacher Empire type character.
I remember CGI Redenbacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
that was
that's
creepy as shit.
But there were a bunch of points where the first time you see Tarkin, you view him from behind and you see his face sort of reflected in the window. You don't see the full face, and I think it would have been better to have that and know it's General Tarkin than have full on have him facing the camera and turning. That would have been better. It seemed like that would have been a better plan.
Yes, that would have been much better.
So that's my gripe with it. And I just want to say all together, guys, the rating that I give this movie is a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow, I agree.
I agree too.
Brandon?
I enjoyed it. I gave it like an 8. I really liked it, man. You know, it was a good movie.
Russian judge.
An 8? How dare you, sir?
He's a Russian judge.
How dare you, sir?
He's holding up the card.
But he's holding up the card at that point. But overall, we would say that, folks, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, this is just a really good fucking movie. It's a really good movie to see. I would say, for the most part, the main characters are not as engaging as they could be. Go for the side characters. You'll remember them forever. Yeah. You'll remember those guys forevermore. Yes. I did want to mention one thing, and I'm sorry to end this on a somber note, but as of this recording, actress Carrie Fisher died 2 days ago from heart failure. And I just wanted to say, as far as this YouTuber, this YouTube personality is concerned, I was pretty sad when I heard the news, and I just wanted to say, thank you, Miss Fisher, for everything that you've done in the industry, and thank you for showing me as a young man growing up as a kid watching these films what a strong female character is supposed to look like.
Yeah, exactly. And her mother died like a day after, I believe, Debbie Reynolds.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a double whammy there. 2016 has been absolutely horrible when it comes to celebrities, obviously, but again, I hate to end on a somber note, but yeah, it's she was well loved by everybody. I mean, especially everybody in this room here. Yeah. And of course, millions of Star Wars fans from the very beginning up into this newest film. And fortunately, she lived long enough to actually complete the next Star Wars film, I believe, coming out soon, which is awesome. So she would get to see her presence and her energy one last time on screen, even though she won't be there with us to enjoy it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So shout out to all of the Carrie Fisher fans and Star Wars folks out there. I do hope that whatever they decide to do with General Leia Organa's character from here on out, because she stopped being a princess a long time ago and started being a badass quite soon after. Is if whatever they decide to do, I hope the death is a good one and it's heroic and it's something that we fans can be proud to say that it was a great last send off for her. But that was all I had, guys. Did you have anything more?
Watch this film.
Yeah,
watch it.
Give it a watch. The sins of the past are dying.
Yes.
and it's okay to enjoy Star Wars once again.
Yes, and again, it's good to see how it all began, essentially, as far as up into A New Hope. But watch this film.
And writing matters, people.
Writing
And
story is king.
Story is king, and they follow that premise here. So
Have guts as a writer. Have guts
Exactly.
with your creations to take the risks that should have been taken a long time
Look
ago.
at you, Logan.
Yeah, somebody has to have meat in the game, skin in the game.
I would say all in all, guys, this was a great picture. But that was our review of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I think I have more hope for the Star Wars franchise than I've had in a very, very long time. So it seems like it would be good to go. But hey, this has been Corey, master of all 4 elements, Carter.
This is John version 2.
Jonathan Crane, the master of fear.
And Fred Freeze, a.k.a. Doom, the king of Latveria.
And this has been Critical Comics, guys. We will catch you folks next time. And may the Force be with you.
Well, I'm an equalizer, known to be graphic. I clear static, breaking up traffic. Move while I enter the groove. I'm on top and happy to prove to whack MCs who claim to be better than. No way, I'm frankly more clever than all of you. Each and every one, my son. Pay close attention. I'll take your brain to another dimension. Hold it, mold it, shape it. You got a knife? Yes, I wanna scrape it up and down, sideways, anywhere I can. Be rude to